Are you tired of hamstrings and adductors leaving you losing on stage? Or maybe it's even you just don't fill out those shorts that you wear in the gym on leg day. Hey, I'm Luke Miller, owner of J3 Coaching, part owner of J3 University. We raise the standard of coaching, not only with the way we teach in the university courses, but how we coach our athletes, having won over 30 pro cards in the last year and a half and Olympia qualifications to go alongside that. So we've done this at every single level. So when we look at this session, this is built for you to fix that gap in adductors so that you look big from the front and from the rear, and fix that gap at hamstrings so that you don't lose a side shot ever again. We're gonna start this session with adductors. With a hamstring focused session, training adductors to full fatigue is usually not gonna be as detrimental to doing that at the front end of a quad session. For some people, adductors create pelvis stability to the point that allows them to get more out of squatting. So for some, it doesn't always fit at the start of quads. But in the hamstring session, it's a great place to start out with what's such a weak body part for most people. So we're gonna hit 3 sets with a slight pause in the lengthen. Adductors are pretty simple. Set up, pull yourself down, pause in the lengthen, get a lot out of it. When we pivot into the next movement, it's going to be a lying hamstring curl. Now, I like this because it allows us to get some shortened in-range loading. You'll see in the video that we use a prime lying hamstring curl. The reason is this because as we fatigue, we can move more loading into the length and in-range to account for the fatigue build up across the sets. Now, if you don't have a prime lying ham curl, a regular lying ham curl is fine. Or even, you'll see me doing a single-legged hamstring curl that has a pad that I can push my hips up against to brace as well, just like the lying. So choose your poison. If you like to single-legged because you get more out of it, you want a little bit more adductor in that hamstring curl as well, choose a single-legged. If you want the bilateral for time efficiency, you get a lot out of that, let's stick with that lying hamstring curl. Because that shortened in-range work is going to set up our RDL. Now, RDLs can vary a lot. There's a lot of variations you can choose. You can check out our next video to talk about how you should pick your RDL. But talking about the session today, we did a barbell RDL as our RDL of choice. Now, a slightly bent knee is going to include both glute and hamstrings. This is so that full posterior chain is developed for those back doubles, those rear lat spreads. You don't leave on stage without having shredded hamstrings and shredded glutes. And the reason we like the RDL is because it's going to be our biggest opportunity to load the lengthen position. Because it's our biggest opportunity to load the lengthen in range, our reps should resemble that. So we don't want to overarch the top and take load off the hamstrings and glutes. You'll see as I do these, I'm coming up to a point that still has me leaning over to the bar. I have a slight hesitation in the bottom to make sure that I'm getting the full lengthen loading out of the hamstrings and glutes, not shifting it into my lumbar. And every single rep looks the same even as I approach failure. This is your bang for buck pattern. Now, if you don't need much glute and you need only hamstring, you might consider doing a stiff deadlift here. So straighter knee, higher hips, bent over more, bar drifts over from the shin. Now this would be to get a higher percentage of loading in the hamstring and take more out of the glutes. And this is going to be where you need to choose this based on your specific needs. I tend to find that 9.5 out of 10 clients just need the RDL. But if you're one of those people with massive glutes and not much hamstrings, a rare case, maybe the SLDL fits here. Now, we're going into the single-legged side back squat press, a favorite of mine. I think getting more out of your leg development requires you to do single-legged work at a high clip. Multiple reasons. One, if you have movement inefficiencies, the single-legged makes it easier to find in ranges of ankle dorsiflexion, your ability to internally rotate and flex the hip, and you can get into bottom in ranges that you might not actually be able to get into bilaterally. If you watch my old training clips, bilaterally I can't do leg press work without heel elevated squat shoes. You'll see today I'm just using my Air 1s to do this because I can get to full range unilaterally due to the ability to actually move quite a bit better than I do bilaterally. This has to functionally do with how we move at the hip a little bit. Not going to do that dissertation today, but this is one of the biggest reasons why I love this. Secondarily, it's going to load a lot more adductor by doing it single-legged than doing bilateral. This is because we have to stabilize at the pelvis through that adductor, and when we get into that bottom position, we're going to be getting a ton of adductor, we're going to be getting a ton of quad, we're going to be getting quite a bit of glute. Now the side back's choice does bias quad a little bit because it drops load off in the lengthen, and then it pushes you into a position that forces you to contract your quad. If you're a person that needs more glute, and you're okay with it being more glute than quad, you might consider doing this on a regular 45-degree leg press. I chose the side backs due to my movement inefficiencies. It helps me get into the bottom. If I was writing this ideal for a session for someone else, I'd be looking at potentially the 45-degree leg press in this session setup. Make sure that you pause in the in range and then pull yourself down, and you're going to be in a great spot to get a lot out of that pattern. Now we wrap this session up with fatiguing the very lengthened end range of hamstring curl variation with the seated ham curl. This is a really great opportunity to just add the total amount of volume that you need for the week within the session. I'm also going to be doing a seated hamstring curl and a quad focus day pretty early on for most people, because it's going to be my more loading focused seated hamstring curl work, and this is going to be just the finishing touches to make sure that we get the lengthened loading and a higher rep range exposure and something that's externally braced and easy to get a lot of hamstring stimulus without a lot of fatigue associated. If you're setting this up, a few key things: make sure your knees align with the dot on the cam so that your knees rotate where the cam rotates. Make sure you push yourself down and back into the pad. When we look at the knee pad, we don't want to push back where we're arching back and pushing away, moving those hips forward and going into anterior pelvic tilt. What I like to think is, if I'm pushing down and back, I'm pushing my lower back and the top of my hips into that pad. If I do that, I know I'm keeping that pelvis stable, and I know I'm going to be getting a lot out of that hamstring throughout the entirety of the pattern. So this is your next session for your hamstring adductor focused leg day. Now there's variations of this that you can use based on how you move, what you like, what you have in your gym. But if you want to learn more about how to pick movements for yourself, make sure that you have the right session written for you, go into the description below and click that link for J3 Coaching, where all of our team has been trained in AHO, J3 University Level 1, and even the female module, to make sure that everything is written specific to your needs in order to be able to pull the most out of your physique development. Whether you want to win your next show or you just want the biggest legs in the gym, doesn't matter. Can't wait to see you in J3 Coaching, making the most of your physique development process.